review tag. This is a tag done by Dom at Dominish Books, and I will tag it all down below. Have I just finished filming the book tag you've seen yesterday? Yes. Yes, I have. Am I getting changed? No, not. I am gonna just do these back to back because like I said in the last one, I'm not feeling great and I just want to get these videos filmed. So this one in particular was very, very difficult. Very, very difficult because I've had so many 5 stars this year. So I'll go onto my copile just now and into my reading stats. So far this year, it is now mid-December. So far this year, I've read 156 books. So 161 in total, but with DNFs, I've DNF'd 5 books. So I've read 156 books to completion. That is a whopping 54,095 pages, Jesus, which does not include the DNF pages because I don't add that to my count. That's just the full pages. So within that, star rating wise, I have 105 5-star books, 1 star, so I've got 105 5 stars, 38 4 stars, 12 3 stars, and 1 star, no 2 stars. So I've had so many great reads this year that I'm struggling to pull from this. I do have books on this that would absolutely repeat so many times over on different ones of these, but I wanted to use a different book for every question. So that's what I've done. I've used a different book for every question, but please know that a lot of these could also switch into other parts because I struggle with choosing favourites. I know a lot of people are expecting to see Heartstopper since I got a Heartstopper tattoo. I went to 0 to 60 in 6 months with Heartstopper, but I'm trying not to say Heartstopper for every question, so I've pulled in other books for this. So I'm just going to go right ahead and get started. The first question is favourite book of the year so far. For that, I ended up pulling Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This book, once I finished this book, I would not shut up about it. I love this book. This is the best book Emily Henry has written. She just got better and better and better. And this to me just was one of my favourite books of the year completely. This is about our main character Nora, who is a cutthroat literary agent at the top of her game. She is the one that everybody leaves in a romance novel to go stay in the little town. She's the girlfriend back home that gets screwed over. But I completely fell in love with Nora. I love that she stood up for what she believed in and that she said, no, I'm not gonna, change my life for you. I just really loved Nora as a character. This book made me laugh, it made me cry. I loved it so much. Safe to say, Heartstopper could also have gone in here. Number 2 is favourite series that you've started but not finished. Again, Heartstopper could go in here because technically there's another one to come out. But I've not chosen the Heartstopper. No, I've chosen the Supernatural Sisters. Now these are the 2 books that I've not read yet. It Came from the Deep and Her Fierce Creatures. This is the last book in the series, and this is one of the ones in between that I've just not read yet. I've gone on about this enough. I don't think you need to hear more about it, but look out for a dedicated vlog next year for these books. Question 3 is your favourite series that you've finished this year. I discovered that I did not read a lot of series this year, at least not ones that are complete. I read, I think, 1 completed series. I could also count Heartstopper for this because the 5th one isn't out yet, so I've read up to date. I've read up to date on a few series, but I've not completed a series other than the Bargainer series. So this is Rhapsodic, A Strange Hymn, and Dark Harmony. These are by Laura Thalassa. These are the indie covers and they're so heavy. These have just got a new publisher who's changed the covers. Now you can't get these beautiful indie covers, which is a shame because the covers are ugly. ugly as hell, but the story is fantastic, and I think these covers do it justice with how dark and how twisted and how essential it is. This is about our main character, who is called Calypso, and she is a siren living in our world who befriends the bargainer, who is a fae king, who then requires her help. That's all I'm going to say about this. I could go on, but I do not want to sit here for hours talking about this. Well, I do, but I also, you know what I mean. Number 4 is a favourite new author that you've discovered this year. Again, Alice Oseman, I discovered this year, so I could have used Heartstopper for this. I'm just pointing out how much I could use Heartstopper and how much I loved it. But in the interest of choosing a different book for each section, I've chosen Juno Dawson, and this is Her Majesty's Royal Coven, which is the first book of Juno's that I've read. This is I don't know if it's going to be a duology or if it's going to be a series. The next one comes out next year and I've already pre-ordered it. This is about Her Majesty's Royal Coven, which is the coven of witches that was created by Anne Boleyn to protect the crown, and they are inserted into the government. And this is about a group of friends who, when they were younger and of age, pledged to Her Majesty's Royal Coven. Now that they're grown up and have kind of drifted away from each other, I suppose, in some ways, and have taken up different responsibilities within the coven or without the coven. Very Spice Girls orientated, which I think is really well done. Like, it's such a nostalgic feel, but it also discusses women's rights and trans rights, and I love this book, and the cliffhanger, I need the next book. But this has sort of cemented to me that I'd never heard of Juno Dawson before, and I know Juno didn't always go by the name Juno, so there are books on her backlist that will be under a different name. I don't know if they've republished with her actual name, but Juno Dawson is now someone that I'm willing to pick up new books from that I'd never heard of before. Next is number 5, new character of the year, favourite new character of the year, and I have doubled up on this a little bit. I've gone for Kavosi von Klitzing, who is also known as Caspar from The Witch Court of Death, which is part of the Supernatural Sisters series, but each book is about a different person, and this one is about Kavosi, or Caspar as she's also known, and she is a medium who can talk to ghosts and can sort of control ghosts and take them to the other side. Her and her twin brother Bastien do this, and they are then hunted, and Bastien is killed, and Kavosi is left with an amputated arm at the mid-radial. So it then jumps to a year later, and Kavosi is living. She is, bisexual woman who is also a medium, an albino, and has a limb difference. And the way she moves through the world is just impeccably told by Morelius. I cannot fault this character one bit. She is perfect, absolutely perfect for me. And like I say, this series will be getting a dedicated vlog next year, so please do watch for all the spoilers and me gushing about the amazing characters that this author has managed to write. Number 6 is favourite new release of the year. This, unsurprisingly, has to go to Babel. I loved this book so much. I had never read anything from R.F. Kuang before. I've never been interested in reading anything from R.F. Kuang before, because R.F. Kuang's previous trilogy, which is the Poppy War, is very, very, very fantasy, and I do not read fantasy. This is very much a historical fiction with some fantasy. It's more of a magical realism, I suppose, or like an industrial magical realism fantasy. It's very, very light on the fantasy, and it's very, very much about culture and about colonialism and the way that the British took over all these places to the detriment of the people living there. Someone did a review recently, and she's getting absolutely slammed for good reason online, because she gave it 0 stars because she said that this book made her feel bad for being white, and she feels like that shouldn't be allowed, which to me is ridiculous. The whole point of this is to point out how bad the British Empire was and how poorly people within the Empire and within the Commonwealth are treated. There's also a level of etymology to this, and I'm a massive etymology geek. Like, the discussion of language and words and the evolution of language and words and the way words are put together, and I just ate that up. So this basically is historical fiction set in Oxford with a cast of characters from different backgrounds. We've got one from India, one from Canton, which is in China, and one from the Caribbean, I believe. I can't remember. And then another white character, but she is female, which makes it, she's not welcome in society either because she's a woman. And the way these characters move through the world and experience the world, and the way it the way it sort of makes them act differently than maybe you or I would in that situation. It's just beautifully written, beautifully done. It took my breath away, and I was completely I just sat there after finishing this book in complete shock. I could feel like almost like a vibration reverberating in my brain from having taken this in, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Next is number 7, which is the biggest surprise of the year. Again, I could say Heartstopper because I was adamant I wasn't going to like Heartstopper, and now it's one of my favourite things ever, and I have a tattoo of it. But because I'm not doing Heartstopper for every question, although secretly I'm clearly doing a Heartstopper for every question, for me, I chose The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. I was really resistant to reading this book because I could not work out how it worked out. Like, they share the flat, but they have it from 8 to 8, so they never meet, they never see each other, and then they fall in love, and I'm like, how does this even work? This does not work. What about sick days? What about like holidays? What about, like weekends? But it doesn't span a big enough time for things like that to be taken into within the whole thing. And then there's also like they're very, very strict about the 8 till 8 thing. I've just watched the series that was released on Paramount Plus for this, and it did really well, I think, in showing this. I do think the book was better, but they did a good job. They did a good job. But I actually really want to reread this now that I've watched the TV show, and yeah, I'm really surprised that I ended up loving this. Number 8 is the biggest disappointment of the year. I think my friends will probably know what this is because it really did break my heart that this disappointed me so much. Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. This is a pre-order copy. This is a beautiful copy. I considered getting multiple copies of this because the indie published version has a trident as opposed to the spear on the side, and I have a trident tattoo on this arm. If you haven't seen it, for like a Percy Jackson tattoo. I was so looking forward to the story of Medusa. I was so looking forward to seeing her humanised in a way that she isn't in Greek mythology and a lot of Greek retellings, and I was so let down. I have other Natalie Haynes books that I enjoyed, but this was just the biggest letdown because it didn't follow Medusa. It didn't put Medusa at the forefront of this. It put Perseus at the forefront of this. And I don't care about Perseus. And at one point, there's a section in the book that's like, well, I bet you think that Perseus, oh, poor Perseus. Well, you're a bad person for thinking Perseus is like, no, don't attack the reader like that. I don't think Perseus is the good guy in this. He's in an unfortunate situation, but he got himself into that situation, and like hunting down Medusa simply for the fact that she's a Gorgon is not in any way, there's no justifying that. There's no justifying him hunting down Medusa. Like, I honestly wanted to slap the narrator with the book. I just really, really didn't like this. The sections with Medusa were very small and very pathetically written. The other sections were there was one which was her Gorgon sisters, which was more interesting than anything else, and that made up very, very little of the book. I just found this to be very, very poorly put together and defeating the purpose of giving these women their voices, because the main voice in this to me was Perseus, so it should have been Perseus' story, not Medusa's story, and then I would never have read it anyway, so I just think this could have been done so much better. And finally, number 9, a book that you read this year that you would recommend to anybody. Okay, so I said I wasn't going to use it for every single question, but I am going to use it for this one. Heartstopper. This is the Waterstones exclusive edition. I'm so proud of this edition. I would recommend anybody reads Heartstopper. It's a very easy art style. It's excellent for people who may have things like dyslexia. The font that is used, although it's a handwriting font, is quite dyslexic friendly as far as I'm aware. My wife is dyslexic and finds this quite easy to read. She's not read it, but she finds the font easier to read. She's got her whole font on her phone set to a font like this. The artwork is very easy to take in. It is... I don't like graphic novels or manga or comics, but I love Heartstopper. It tells the story so fantastically well. The artwork is easy to take in. It's beautifully done. The characters are easy to tell apart, despite the fact that it's all in like grey scale. And the story is just gentle and beautiful. There are some things in the future editions or future volumes that may require trigger warnings, such as eating disorders, but at least the first two I would recommend. I wouldn't understand anybody who wouldn't enjoy this book. I just can't think of any reason why someone would not enjoy this unless they were, you know, like homophobic or something. But that's not a reason to dislike a book, because if you're homophobic, I don't care. But yeah, this is the book, this is the series that just completely took over my heart and soul this year. I sincerely think that everybody should read Heartstopper. It is a fantastic set of graphic novels. It is a fantastically well done TV show. Even if you don't want to read it, watch the TV show. It is a message that really, really needs to be sort of looked at. It's a similar thing, I feel, in a way to the Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, but done better. Sorry to Becky Albertalli. I just feel like this to me is much better than Simon, but it's a similar thing. And the bisexual rep in this, thank you so much, Alice Wiseman, because we don't get that a lot. We don't get bisexual rep, and we especially don't get bisexual rep for boys. Bisexual rep for guys, it's not out there. It's not out there as much as it needs to be, and you've done a fantastic job with this. I'm absolutely ending this tag on a high note, because Heartstopper is and always will be one of the best things that has ever been created for me. Okay, that is the year in review book tag. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that you found some new books that you might be interested in at Heartstopper. If you've not read it before, if you have any thoughts or feelings about these books, please let me know in the comments, and I will, you know, chat to you down there. I really hope that you're having a great Vlogmas and a great Christmas, or whatever it is that you celebrate this time of year, and I will see you in the next video, which, looking at my diary, should be the last video of Vlogmas. So I'll see you then. Bye.